السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, tonight's lesson is on wal-Marjan concerning the hadith of Bukhari and Muslim. طيب. We've reached chapter number 21 in Kitab al-Zakah. The author rahimahullah ta'ala says, باب الحمل أجرة يتصدق بها والنهي الشديد عن تنقيس المتصدق بقليل. It says a laborer can give charity out of his earnings, and it is severely forbidden to detract on one who contributes a little. It says a laborer, باب الحمل أجرة يتصدق بها. A laborer can give charity out of his earnings, and it is severely forbidden to detract on one who contributes a little. Here, this chapter heading from An-Nawawi rahimahullah is explaining another ruling of zakah / sadaqah. And that is with regards to making money, with regards to a person being a laborer, and with regards to a person giving it as sadaqah. A person is given sadaqah. And if a person has nothing else to give, or only a little to give, then that is what he or she should do. And there is no cap or no limit or no minimum of what a person can give as charity, as a person can give as sadaqah. That's what's meant by this chapter heading. That is what's meant by this chapter heading. Another ruling of giving and spending in the cause of Allah, the Mighty and the Most High. Hadith 598, Hadith Abi Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, قال لما أمرنا بالصدقة كنا نتحامل فجاء أبو عقيل بنصف صاع وجاء إنسان بأكثر منه فقال المنافقون إن الله لغني عن صدقة هذا وما فعل هذا الآخر إلا رئاء فنزلت الذين يلمزون المتطوعين من المؤمنين في الصدقات والذين لا يجدون إلا جهدهم الآية. Hadith 598 is narrated by Abu Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu. When we were ordered to give alms, we used to start to work as porters to earn something we could give in charity. Abu Uqayl came to us, it says here, Uqayl in English, and in Arabic it says Aqil. Abu Uqayl / Aqil came with one half of a sa', and another person brought more than he did. So the hypocrites said, Allah is not in need of the alms of this. And this other person did not give alms but for showing off. Then Allah, the Mighty and the Most High, revealed, those who defame such of the believer who give charity voluntarily, and those who cannot find to give charity except what is available to them. Except what is available to them. So the highlighting point from this hadith are the Sahaba working as laborers and giving what they earned in sadaqah, and that there's no limit of what a person can give as charity, and that there should never be a mockery, there should not be laughing or joking or making fun of someone who only gives a little. That's the highlighting point from the hadith with regards to the chapter heading. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says in Sharh Sahih Muslim, معناه نحمل على ظهورنا بالأجرة ونتصدق من تلك الأجرة أو نتصدق بها. He says here كلها ففيه تحريض على الاعتناء بصدقة وأنه إذا لم يكن له مال يتوصل إلى تحصيل ما يتصدق به من حمل بالأجرة أو غيره من أسباب مباحة. He says that this means a person earns something, they carried people upon their backs. They were carrying on their backs, carrying boxes, whatever. They were carrying, picking up, loading, and porting things. Right? Like someone working at a dock. You're working at a dock. You lift things, you carry things. Back in the day, people would carry things. In certain countries, people would give people rides in a palanquin. Okay? Or those different types of half vehicles in which they would tote them off. 2 wheels, and they would carry the rest. Whether it's ancient Japan or ancient China, whatever you're doing to carry someone, whatever job that you have, no matter how mean that job or that way of making money may be. So the Sahaba used to do this, and the money that they earned, they would give half of it, or a quarter of it, or a third of it, if not all of it, in sadaqah, in the cause of Allah subhanahu azza wa jal. So therefore, some of the believers only had a little bit, and he only had a sa'. He only had a bit of food stuff, grain. And the munafiqs, they made fun of him. And they said, Allah is in no need of this person's measly sadaqah. Allah is in no need of this person's trifling sadaqah. Allah doesn't need what you're going to give, these scraps. And the other companion of this one, he only stood up to be seen by men. He only gave sadaqah for to be noticed by men. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla, He sent in that verse from Surah Tawbah, chapter 9, regarding dispraising and condemning the munafiqun for them making fun of al-mutawwi'ina min al-mu'minin, the believers who give tatawwa', who give extra. La yajiduna, the only thing that they have is juhdahum, whatever they can give in sadaqah. So that's what's meant by this hadith. That is what's meant by this hadith. Now, and that's what Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala says, is that a person should look after sadaqah. He says, at-tahridu ala al-i'tina'i bi sadaqah, to be mindful of charity. Okay, طيب. Khairan inshallah. From the fawaid of this hadith, once more, is the permissibility. It says, kunna, it says, lama umirna bi sadaqah. We were commanded to give sadaqah. Who commanded them to give sadaqah? Allah, first and foremost, and His Messenger, alayhi salatu wasalam. They commanded the believers to what? To give sadaqah. To give sadaqah. So this hadith shows us is that it is either obligatory or recommended to give sadaqah in al-Islam. Either mandatory or mustahab. طيب, it says, لما أمرنا بالصدقة كنا نتحامل. When we were commanded to give sadaqah, we started working as people who carried imported things. This shows us, and this proves to us, is that the Quran and the Sunnah, the Quran, it was sent down to be acted upon. That's the purpose of revelation. Not to draw it and to write it and to make beautiful pieces of calligraphy and to put it on the wall and to decorate the mosques and say how beautiful the Quran is, how miraculous the Quran is, to put Ayatul Kursi in the 3 quarters on our walls, and then that's it. Okay? Or some Muslims, they'll kiss the Mus'haf. And we're not talking about the ruling on that. Is that haram? Is that bid'ah? Al-Muhim, they kiss the Mus'haf. They love the Mus'haf. They have respect for it. But they have no action upon the Mus'haf whatsoever. Or just barely. They don't make 5 daily prayers. They don't make Salat al-Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, or Isha. Okay? And he's talking about the Quran and how they love the Quran and how special and beautiful and miraculous the Quran is. The Quran was sent down for it to be acted upon. The injunctions of the Quran are to be followed, to be obeyed, the rules. And that's what he says. لَمَّا أُمِرْنَا بِالصَّدَقَةِ. When we were commanded to do it, we did such and such and such a thing to get the money to make sadaqah. You understand the point? Is that they didn't just have the Quran sent down upon them and then say, Khalas, oh, mashallah, alhamdulillah, the Quran is beautiful and that's it. They were commanded to give sadaqah in the Quran, and that meant one thing only, and that was to translate those commands into physical what? Deeds. You understand this is a tremendous benefit from the hadith, is that the companions understood this. That the Quran commands, the Prophet commands, that can only mean one thing, and that is to do it. To do it. And it blows away the concept of al-irja. Iman is just in my heart. Allah knows what's in my heart. It's okay, mashallah, alhamdulillah, and that's it. But it's action, it's amal. It has to be acted upon, it has to be implemented upon. Khairan, inshallah. Moving forward. It then says, فَجَاءَ So, طيب. Khairan, inshallah. This hadith from the Fuad of this hadith also shows the dispraise of the munafiqun. And that they make fun of people, they laugh at people, and then they mock people. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَغَنِيٌّ عَنْ صَدَقَةِ هَذَا. It also goes to show us is that they got certain things right and certain things wrong. They knew certain things and other things they didn't know. And the munafiqun were not people who lacked knowledge 100%. I wish they had no knowledge whatsoever and they didn't know or understand anything that was correct. As some people may think and feel about the mushrikun, is that they had no knowledge of Allah and had no knowledge of religion. No, that's not true. There were things that they did know, things that they did understand. So the munafiqun, they said, Inna Allah la ghaniyyun. Allah is rich, He's self-sufficient, and He doesn't need this person's sadaqah. So what they got right is that Allah Azza wa Jal is ghani. What they got right is that a person should give his best. The qurban, the offering should be the what? The best. Should be the best that you offer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then a person should not give poor service to Allah. And a person should not give that which is the most mean thing that he owns of sadaqah. As Allah tells us in the Quran, talking about not searching or looking for the khabith, spending from the khabith. وَلَسْتُمْ بِآخِذِيهِ. Allah says, and you wouldn't take it yourselves unless you closed your eyes and squinted your eyes and turned away. Nah? So therefore they understood that and they got that right. Is that the best should be given and offered in the cause of Allah? And that Allah Azza wa Jal is in never need of His servants. He's not in no need of His servants. I understand this? The munafiqs, they got that right. But what they got wrong was thinking that they had specific knowledge of Allah for this person's sadaqah and this person's charity. What they got wrong was thinking that Allah Azza wa Jal only looked at and only accepted quantity and not that which is quality, that which is given out of sincerity and love for Allah, and it's all I have. As-sa' is all I have to give in the cause of Allah, and He gives it. So the munafiqun, they got something right and they got other things wrong. Are we understanding this? But there are certain things that they knew, such as Allah is ghani, such as Allah does not need his servants, and such as the best should be given to Allah. The best offering should be made for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to your means. They understood that properly, but then they went wrong. They crashed thinking that they could say about this believer and that believer. They didn't know that. Another thing that the munafiqs got right is that riyah, showing off, was bad. Showing off was condemned. They said about the other one, he only stood up riya'an, to show off. I.e., that's a bad thing. Even though they themselves did what? Showed off. Yura'una nas. They wanted to be seen and noticed by men. But at least they knew that it was what? A vice. To do something out of worship only for the pleasure of men. Or the acclaim and the clapping and the patting of what? Of men. Alright? So the munafiqs, they got something right. And they got other things what? Wrong. Moving forward. Then Allah Azza wa Jal, He sent down this ayah condemning them. And we know that Surah 9, Surah At-Tawbah, was one of the harshest surahs upon the munafiqs. It's one of the harshest surahs in the Quran about them. And it talks about the reality of the munafiqeen. And it exposes them. It exposes them a great deal. And a great deal. Khayr, inshallah. Let's move forward. Another faida from this hadith. This goes to show us here the concept of asbabun nuzul. Asbabun nuzul. Why verses are sent down. Why verses are sent down. This hadith shows us why this verse was sent down. And when we know why the verse was sent down, it allows us to make a better, more thorough, and more accurate tafsir of the verse, let alone of the surah. Because we know what Allah is saying. Why is He saying it? Who did He say it to? And anyone who reads the Quran, there lies no doubt you're going to read so many different verses, and if you don't have no background about those verses or context, you could become confused, or you may not get the full point. When this woman came, when this man came, and you were hiding in yourself that which Allah would reveal, what is He talking about? So asbabun nuzul is extremely important to know why these verses were sent down. Okay, asbabun nuzul. Khayran inshallah. Now the concept of umum al-lafz versus khusus al-asbab or khusus al-sabab. We have a general statement in the Quran, even though it was sent down for a specific reason. It was sent down in a specific battle pertaining to the death of a companion. Someone was on his deathbed. This person's janazah, this marriage, this divorce, this munafiq. And we understand it was sent down for a specific reason. But does that mean that the generality of the verse is no longer applicable? That's a problem that many people have. For or against, right or wrong. They say, oh, this verse is out of context. It's not talking about that. That was in the time of the Prophet, so on and so forth. But does that mean that the ruling is just for the time of the Prophet? Allah sent it down over 1,400 years ago and that's it. There's no practicality today. And then there are those who take a verse that was sent down, a ruling that was sent down specifically, and they'll apply it broadly, and they do it inaccurately. And then they'll realize that this specific ruling or this specific thing was talking about a specific person. So that is always constantly a battle of khusus al-asbab versus umum al-alfaz. Everyone understand this? In the ulum, or the sciences of the Quran, and the ilm al-tafsir. Alright. This hadith also goes to show us is that to have a better understanding, rather to have a good understanding, a thorough understanding, an accurate understanding of the Quran, you know the sunnah and hadiths. And they go hand in hand. The sunnah and hadiths and Quran, it goes what? Hand in hand. Everyone understand this? Khairan, inshallah. And there are many other fawaid in this as well. Moving forward. No one has an excuse not to give charity and not to be charitable. Well, whatever you can, as we've explained before, whether it's smiling in your brother's face, whether it's giving $5, $10, whether it's giving a good word to your brother, feeding your family, providing food for your wife and children, whatever it is as sadaqah. Every Muslim is responsible for what? Giving some type of charity. And every single day, you should not allow a day to pass unless that you've given some type of sadaqah. To an animal, to a bird feeder, on your porch, whatever it may be. Giving some type of sadaqah to some living creature. That should be your goal every single day. And you should try to make for yourselves goals, inshallah. Tomorrow I'm going to give more sadaqah. Tomorrow I'm going to do it greater. I'm going to offer something better, whether it's a plate of food, whether it's money, whatever that sadaqah, what? Whatever it may be. But everyone has to give some type of charity on behalf of his or her soul on a daily basis. Knowledge, ilm, sadaqah, what you teach, the knowledge that you spread, that's sadaqah. Okay? وهكذا. Khayr inshallah. Chapter number 22. باب فضل المنيحة. حديث أبو هريرة أو حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال نعم المنيحة اللقة الصفي منحة والشاة الصفي تغدو بإناء وتروح بإناء. Chapter 22 says the superiority of the maniha. The superiority of the maniha. Hadith 599 is narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, what a good maniha is. He says, what a good maniha is, and the sheep which gives profuse milk. A bowl in the morning and another in the evening is. This translation type, moving forward, let's not get stuck on that, huh? Let's not get stuck on that. He says, Babu Fadl al-Maniha. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says regarding this chapter and what it means. قال وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. He says, قال أهل اللغة المنحة بكسر الميم والمنيحة بفتحها مع زيادة الياء هي العطية وتكون في الحيوان وفي الثمار وغيرهما. He says that this thing al-maniha is atiyah, a gift, giving a gift. And that gift could be an animal. That gift could be fruits. With regards to a farm, I have a she-camel that you can borrow to give you milk, right? Goat, sheep, a cow, a heifer, right? A bull, naam. Or it could be a bundle of oranges or dates or bananas. Something that comes from my harvest, some pumpkins in the fall here in the United States. Maize, corn. Everyone understand this? Why could that? This is what we grew this year. We did well. Tfaddal. You can have some. Take some. Make some pumpkin pie. Right? Sweet potato pie. Apple cider. طيب وهكذا. Al-maniha. It can be an animal that you give, such as you have an animal that has a lot of milk, profuse milk. You give not milk to your neighbor, but what? Give them the actual cow. Or you can borrow the cow. Everyone understand this? You got it or not? We understand this? We're neighbors. We both have farms. You say, Father, take the what? Take the cow for a day. Either hoa. Just bring it back in one piece. Huh? Tayyib. You might have a car. You say, Mufti, huh? Fadda. Take the keys for the weekend. Just bring it back what? And then say full tank. In one piece. No tickets, no scratches. Wahakada. Al-maniha. Whether it's an animal or whether it's what? Other than an animal. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says what? هي العطية وتكون في الحيوان وفي الثمار وغيرهما. This gift or loaned gift could be a what? An animal. Could be a what? Fruits or other than that. And this is an example of the point is that we're not trying to make. It's not trying to make you laugh. It's trying to make a point of how universal Islam is. And that it's not restricted to a time. Who's walking around here with animals? When was the last time you milked a cow? You have your milk in the refrigerator, right? Back in the day, they would bring the milk to you. In the old days. Everyone understand this? That's before my times, but we read about this and heard about this and we saw this. You understand what I'm saying to you? They had many people, many teachers. If the student didn't bring fresh milk and fresh bread to the master's door every day, he was what? A horrible student. Obviously, it's not fresh anymore. It's in the supermarket, but you get the point. Sheikh, I brought you this today. This is warm, not cold, fresh, at your door. Look at that. Fresh bread, huh? In the old days, they say in Sicily, the apprentice that was learning under everyone understand this? An influential leader, we'll say that. He had to bring him what? Fresh bread every morning. That was his sign of his devotion. And some people, they say, is that if a person cannot serve without getting smart and sarcastic and quitting, and if a person is willing to deal with that treatment, then that proves that he's a what? A hungry learner. He'll learn, he'll appreciate the ilm if he can what? Go through the training process. I want you to teach me immediately, overnight. You haven't taught me anything. Why are we still doing this? Why are we still reading this book? They're what? They're phases. So the point is that you may not be living in ancient China, right? Or 7th century Arabia, okay? Everyone understand this? Or in the early 1900s or early 2000s in Sicily. Everyone understand this? You don't have a neighbor that has a farm. Fresh squeezed milk. Everyone understand this? Freshly baked bread. Living in 2019 in the urban, right? A maniha could be what? The van. You may have a cat. You may give someone. The person has a problem with mice. You say, you can take my cat, what? For the weekend or the week, depending on how good the cat hunts. When you get the mice out, you've patched the holes you had in the wall, you do what? You bring the cat back. A maniha, whatever that thing is, and which is a gift, whether you give it to a person, whether you what? Loan it. That's the point we're trying to get to. And that could be in the year 3,000, 4,000, what? 5,000. You're in space, right? You give a what? Maniha. So no one can come and say that Islam is what? It's just for sheep herders and goat herders and camels. They're missing out on a point here. And timeless. Moving forward. The hadith it says here, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال نعم المنيحة اللقة الصفي منحة والشاة الصفي تغدو بإناء وتروح بإناء. He talks about these different animals that give a lot of milk, that provide a lot of milk. Now in this translation, we don't want to get into this translation right now. Al-Muhim, giving a good gift, an animal that produces a lot of milk. It says a bowl in the morning and another what? In the evening. Everyone understand this? This hadith, will we benefit from it? We benefit from this hadith what? Is that it's permissible in Islam to do what? To drink milk. It's permissible to do what? To drink milk. And that milk is not harmful to the human body. Milk may be harmful to your body because you're lactose. You're allergic. It doesn't agree with your system. Milk that's in the refrigerator for a month before it reaches the supermarket. Milk that has this preservative in it, or this type of color, or this type of disease, whatever is in it. But the natural, pure, organic milk that Allah Azza wa Jal placed in these animals is good for the human being. And if a person believes that milk is harmful and destructive and ruinous to the human in his system, There's going to be a major, major problem with his Islam. We understand the difference? I don't like milk because it does this to my stomach. Tayyib. Milk is not supposed to be refrigerated like that. It's supposed to be fresh. Tayyib. And the same applies to meat. And the same applies to what? To sugar. Many people that have problems with these things. And this is one of the issues of veganism. How can a vegan be a Muslim? How can you be a Muslim? How can you read the Quran and be a vegan? And Allah talks about meat. Allah talks about milk. Allah talks about these things in the Quran as a blessing upon man. Nourishment upon man. A ni'mah. That he made the animal subservient. The animal that's most delicious. That has the softest, most tender meat is the animal that flies the least. How far can a chicken fly? How fast does a chicken go? The turkey, how much does it fly in comparison to the other birds? Everyone understand this? The fish that are most delicious, have the best meat, the best flesh, are oftentimes, they're not like a shark. Not saying that you can't eat shark, but you get the point I'm trying to make. It's abundance of those fish. Easy to catch them, relatively easy. Salmon, jumping out of the water. Rizq, yani. Everyone understand this? If you read the history of the United States in the early colonies, when some of the European colonists came, or the Puritans, or the Mayflower, or whatever, and some of them came to different areas of the United States, such as New England, Cape Cod. Read what they say about Cape Cod. They almost lost their minds when they walked into the different rivers and the oceans, and it was nothing but fish surrounding them, they said. Said it was so many codfish they couldn't see the water. So many codfish they couldn't see the water. It was nothing but fish. So just imagine it coming off of Allah Alam how many months on that boat with diseases and infections and starving, running from Europe, running from what they thought was religious oppression or whatever it is, and which only lords own land. That's why we have the word what? Landlord. That's where it comes from. They ran from that, in which only nobles and aristocrats had any type of power. And most peasants were poor and starving and hungry. Everyone understand this? And they came to a land which was inhabited by certain people, but there's no doubt a great part of that land wasn't inhabited. And it was so much provision. Protein. How much protein comes from a codfish? You understand this? And it's just hundreds and thousands of fish. You read the stories and say they almost lost their minds. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. For as far as the eye could see, trees. You know how much lumber, how much wood that is? Things that could be grown. The soil was black. Everyone understand this? Gold. So Allah, He mentions these things in the Quran as a means of what? Blessing upon man. So how can you come along and say that meat is evil? Meat destroys you. It kills you. It causes cancer. It makes your intestines like this. It makes your skin like that. Meat makes you sleep. Meat makes you lazy. Meat makes you aggressive. I remember an argument I got, not an argument, discussion with someone that was trying to be a vegan. And they were at the table and it says, I don't eat meat no more. I said, oh really? I said, why not? He says, because meat makes you kill people. It makes you aggressive. It makes you this. So I asked him a question. So I said, so what are your thoughts on Adolf Hitler? He said, Adolf Hitler is evil. I said, really? Why is he evil? He says he killed all of these people. He killed 6 million, such and such. He did this, he did that. I said, well, did you know he was a vegetarian? There was nothing else that the brother could say. What was his, according to what you believe about him, what was his what? His force of aggression if he only ate vegetables. It's a well-known documented fact. Everyone understand this? And his inner cabinet and the generals around him, they criticized him for eating only vegetables. And some of them said that some of the poor decisions that he made and military blunders were based off of him being weak by not having meat. Everyone understand this? As he asked one of his generals once, and he says, why don't you eat meat? He says, tell me what is the largest mammal on earth? And the strongest and largest mammal? He said, of course, it's the elephant. He says, how much meat does an elephant eat? None. He says, argument over. Pass me my potatoes and spinach. Everyone get the point I'm trying to make? Is when you use something as a dalil, it can be what? Flipped on you. How strong and powerful is an elephant? It's formidable. And strength and solitude and structure. And it doesn't what? Doesn't eat meat as a default. So the point I'm trying to get to is, I asked this guy, this brother, I won't mention his name, well, why was he supposedly so evil? He killed all those millions of people and he didn't eat no meat. Then what? So the concept of veganism and that I don't prefer to eat meat. I only eat fish. I only do this. Versus it's evil. It's nasty. It's disgusting. It ruins your system. I don't see how a person can be a Muslim. Allah says it's a blessing, and you say it's a curse. Abu Sayyid, Keith, how can that mix? Allah says it's a blessing, and you say it's a what? A curse upon man to have these things into the system. All right, so you have to be careful of this. All right, and you have to learn and read the history of veganism, where it came from and how it started, and what are you trying to get out of veganism? What's your goal? And there are different levels of vegans. Some vegans don't eat anything cooked. I know many of them. Nothing that they eat is cooked. And they also believe that eating cooked foods is a sign of savagery. It's like a caveman to cook something, to use fire to eat. And everything is supposed to be raw and fresh and green with energy and life. And the list goes on from their creed. Are we understand this? So the concept of milk, it has a big bowl of milk in the morning, a big bowl of milk what? What is that milk used for except for what? Drinking. And the Prophet ﷺ says it's a what? Excellent thing. An excellent gift to give to a Muslim. All right? The nourishment of milk. Now, what type of milk you drink? Different story. How much milk you drink? What? Different story. Where does that milk come from? An animal that you know what's in it? Or from the supermarket? How long has the milk been sitting there? Has it been frozen? And the list goes on of the problems with what? With the industrial world in which we live. The synthetic world, the modern world. Are we understanding this? And the same applies to sugar. People who are against sugar. Sugar is evil. Sugar is haram in Islam. Sugar is worse than drugs. Sugar. Really? All sugar? So fruits that have sugar in them, we shouldn't eat them? Fruits and other vegetables or sugar and other types of foods, it's all evil? Or processed sugar? Refined sugar? Or having this much what? Sugar in your coffee and your tea. Every single meal. One bottle of soda is supposed to be your daily serving of sugar, and you have 3 sodas for lunch. 10 sodas in a day. Versus the natural strawberry, the orange, the banana, that Allah Azza wa Jalla made and He placed in it what? Sugar. So many people, they go extreme with these things. Honey has sugar in it. Are we understand this? Allah says that honey is a what? A curse? No, a curse or a blessing in the Quran. Shifa'un lin-nas, a cure. So many problems that many people have with these different ideologies and methodologies of food and dietary laws. And oftentimes, the reason behind it is them seeing the modern synthetic world, the industrialized world of consumerism. And then it pushes them what? Far to the extreme. Are we understand this? Refined sugar. What nutritional value does it have? Eating a ton of meat. Breakfast, lunch, dinner is meat. My snack is beef jerky. I had bacon and sausage for breakfast. With the what? Tomatoes, the mushrooms, right? The toast. The English breakfast, right? For our brothers and sisters in the UK. Then for lunch, I had what? A turkey and cheese hoagie, right? Then between Asr and Maghrib, a snack, I had some beef jerky. Then dinner, I have a what? A 9-ounce steak or whatever, a ribeye. طيب? New York strip, London broil. وهكذا. And then the next day, it's the same what? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so much meat. That's been sitting in a can. That's been in the refrigerator. That has this in it, has that in it. That versus natural, pure what? Bismillah, Allah Akbar. Meat. Balanced. How you cook it, how you prepare it. Fried, grilled, broiled, etc. So many people, they go extreme. And oftentimes the reason why they go extreme is because of what? Other extremism. And that's the golden rule, is that extremism begets what? Extremism. One brother, he says about a speaker, at one point in time, we can take anything from him. Who said that? Now take what? That's 0 to 60 twice. Take anything from him. You can learn anything. Don't ask, just take it from him. And now is what? Don't take what? غلو. الغلو يولد بعضه بعضا. Extremism begets more what? Extremism. So therefore, people eat so much sugar, they drink so much this, they have so much that. So now it's all bad and it's all evil. And that's wrong, and a Muslim can never live like that. And milk does a body good. according to Kitab and Sunnah. How much milk you drink? That's a discussion. What type of milk you drink? What? It's a discussion. Last thing I'll mention with regards to this, many people, they have the concept of herbs or herbs and this medicine and this leaf and this is good for this and this reduces that and it's antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and so on and so forth. But how? And with what? Do you just eat the leaf? Do you crush it up? Do you chop it up? Do you dry it out? Do you make it into a tea? And what good is garlic if you're eating it with something else that may be totally contradictory to the nature of the garlic or the leek or any other type of thing that you're taking? Everyone understand the point? So many people that say, oh, that's magnesium is good for this, right? Codfish oil is good for that. And cranberry is good for this. And this vegetable produces this and it prevents that. Really? With salad dressing? And vinegar? And croutons? Or just the leaf in itself naturally prevents this type of heart disease. It lowers this or increases and enhances that. So we can never ever forget there's always how you put things together. Chemistry. Certain things don't belong with each other. So if you have some piece of food that's harmful and you eat it with something else, and of course that's a problem. But you may have something which is extremely healthy. It's very good for you, but it doesn't mean that you're cooking it right. It doesn't mean that you're preparing it right. And it doesn't mean that it goes and belongs on the same plate with those what? Those other things. Everyone understand this? So knowledge, huh? If you speak against something, let it be what? With knowledge. You speak for something, against something, let it be based off what? Ilm. That's all. That's the only point that we're trying to get to. And Allah surely knows best. Khair, inshallah, we'll stop here tonight. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.